Hello, everybody. Welcome to Peachy Podcast Episode 4, a show that's getting so good you'll be wanting some more. So today we've got a wonderful guest, Jeff Raybould, who's a bodybuilding champion for what I recollect, and a personal trainer and online coach. So welcome to the podcast, Jeff. Hope you enjoy your stay. First question, ideal night in. So food, drink, movie or series that you would choose to watch. Obviously COVID friendly. What would it be?
Do you know what? I'm not really someone who watches a hell of a lot of TV at all. So I haven't watched a series since probably Lost when I was like a young teenager. In terms of like food, do you know what? I'm so on plan most of the time. If I do go off plan, it's probably a burger. And that's pretty much it. Like I'm not really. I try and stay on plan pretty much all the time. But do you know what? Like, ideal night in for me is kind of just chilling, you know, like I don't maybe a film, but I work so much, like I'm always working with like online clients and stuff, and my phone's constantly going off day in day out with client inquiries and talking to clients and stuff, and that's what I enjoy, you know, like there's a group chat that I'm in as well, like a bodybuilding type group chat, and that's always going off, and I love talking to the guys in there, and it's kind of like I have to go to the cinema to completely switch off, and even then I'm probably taking like Tupperware with chicken or rice or something, to be honest. So like, but like I struggle to watch a film at home because I'm distracted by work. So for me to really focus on like a film or something, I have to go to the cinema, and even then I've been caught doing check-ins in the cinema and getting back to clients. And one of the last times I was at the cinema, I was doing check-ins, and there was a guy behind me, and he was like, "Oh mate, can you put your phone away? Like I'm trying to watch the film." and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, to be fair, like I was like, "Yeah, sorry mate." I actually went a few rows behind him so I could finish off doing check-ins. Instead of staying with the girl that I was with, I actually just went a few rows behind and finished off. I just said, "Look, I'm just gonna have to go and sort these check-ins out and get back to these guys." Because amazing. To be honest, like that's I don't know, that's just me. Like I know what it's like to have a coach. Like I usually use a coach, lead it to a bodybuilding show, and I know how much kind of importance you place in that person's opinion, because to begin with, obviously you're paying that person because you respect their opinion, you respect their guidance. So when you check in with them with your photos and weight and all that kind of stuff, you're looking forward to their response to see if almost like you've impressed them, and almost like to see if they're happy with what you've achieved that week. And I notice with, personally for me, the clients that check in the most, they are the ones that get the best results because they're so on the ball with things. And the ones that you have to chase check-ins, it's usually because they've not done something that they've supposed to have done that week. So, you know, they've been off plan or whatever. So, but yeah, man, like for me, I struggle to chill. I think, put simply, I struggle to switch off. But I'm someone that even when I'm going to bed at night, my mind's racing with things that I want to achieve, I suppose. But I think that's for some that's a blessing, for some that's a curse. And even with me, it's a blessing and a curse, because yes, I've been successful in so many things, but also your anxiety, your stress, your sleep can be negative, having that mindset.
What inspired you to be a bodybuilder?
Well, I was actually at my first bodybuilding show when I was in a carry cart with my dad. My dad used to coach bodybuilders, and he was very fascinated by the sport. So even before I could talk or walk, I was at a bodybuilding show, and I was always around that kind of hardcore gym environment. There was a gym where we used to live, which is, I think it was like Halzone area, which you probably wouldn't be aware of, where a guy called Ernie Taylor used to train, and he actually competed in the Olympia, and my dad knew him through the gym, and there was a guy called Linville Miller there as well. He also was quite a well-known bodybuilder. I think he was a champion in NABA, and I kind of, and there was like posters of Dorian Yates on the wall, which he was like, he won the Olympia like 6 times. I think he's the only guy to win the open class Olympia from the UK. Yeah. And I was always kind of around that environment, but I never really got into it until I was like 16. So I was really into athletics. I used to love running. I used to love high jump, long jump. I was the top guy in my year at school in athletics, apart from like shot put and javelin, as I just wasn't naturally very strong. And then I actually got an injury on a 100 meter. I kind of like dislocated my hip or something. And I decided to get into weight training, and due to my father teaching me quite a lot about training and nutrition, I progressed quite quickly. But I was studying at the time, and then I didn't actually compete till I was about 26. So I was actually training for about 10 years before I even competed. And I wish I'd have competed earlier in life. I came second in my first show with a federation called the PCA. And I could have been in better shape. There was about 8 guys in my class, and I came second. But I could have been leaner for sure. But do you know what? Because I'd always been skinny as a kid. I was dieting for this bodybuilding show, and each week I felt skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and I hated it. So I used to cheat on my diet at least once a week and just binge eat because I felt so skinny. So it kind of taught me. I didn't really have a good coach for that show. And then, so I came second that show. I actually qualified for the British finals in PCA. And I don't even know where I placed. I was much better, but obviously on a British final stage, the standard is a lot higher. And I asked for feedback, and the feedback I got was basically, you needed to be a hell of a lot leaner. So I took on a coach actually for my 3rd show, which I won. And I said, there's no way that I'm going to compete in this show and not be better than I was in my last show. And I gave it everything. And then a couple of weeks later, there was the Body Power Expo, and there was a show there, and I competed in that, and I come 4th, I think. They only placed top 3. There was like 22 guys in my class, and I think I was the highest place in British guy, because everyone else was from like Hungary. All
right.
Just like Eastern European normally. I think they actually call that show the European Championships now at Body Power. It wasn't classed as it then, but because there's so many people coming to that show from all over the world, especially Europe, they just called it the European Championships basically, which is a cool name, I suppose. That's pretty much how I got into it. It was kind of like I was around the sport as a kid, and going to like the hardcore bodybuilding gyms, and got taught quite a bit from my father. And then I actually had a breakup in 2016, and I felt as though I'd almost been held back a little bit by the girls that I'd been with, because they didn't really support my kind of bodybuilding lifestyle and want to compete. I always wanted to compete, but I felt as though there was never that stimulus there to really do it. And then I actually had a breakup, and it was about June 2016. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not gonna go back on the dating scene or anything like that. I'm just gonna get my head into a show and just compete, and focus on something positive and progress. Because I was training people at the time, I felt as though it'd be a cool thing to do, because I wanted to coach competitors, and I felt as though it was a respectful thing to do, to compete, to learn more about the sport itself. So then, obviously, I think people would rather choose me as a coach for bodybuilding if I'd have competed myself. So I thought, right, let's give this a crack and let's have a go. And the first 2 shows, I absolutely hated it. And part of the reason why, as we spoke about before we started recording, my health supplements weren't in the right place. So my levels of, say, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, and omega-3s, they were just too low. And I felt when I added those in for my 3rd prep for the 3rd bodybuilding show that I did, I had those at like optimal levels, and my brain function, my general well-being, my sleep was so much better. And as we said before we started recording, that I personally believe, and I think we agreed, that if the body's healthy, it can adapt better in terms of growing muscle mass and losing body fat. And part of the reason why the body can't function fully is because it lacks micronutrients such as vitamins and minerals, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids. I have a base level supplement protocol that I put every client on when they come to me, just so their central nervous system, their adrenal glands, everything's functioning correctly. Because you can whack pre-workout and creatine in people all day long, but if they haven't got the basics for their actual health in terms of micronutrients and essential fatty acid and essential amino acids, the body isn't going to do a hell of a lot. The cortisol is just going to go crazy, and stress hormones are going to, just be through the roof. And I've seen it with people over and over again, and they get burnt out. And I personally think, like we were talking about boxing earlier, I don't think personally there's enough nutritional coaching within boxing. I think there's a lot of technique coaching in boxing. I think there's a lot of like stamina and all that kind of stuff. But I think personally, boxers could perform so much better with a quality nutritionist. And as we said before, like if you're not looking over the base level health parameters, your performance is just going to suffer. Down to when you took smacks in the face before, and you shouldn't. It was sometimes because you weren't on the ball. Now, to be on the ball, to have that optimal focus, your body needs to be in a certain position in terms of psychological health and physical health. So yeah, I think to be honest, I think anyone who wants to be their best in a sport should have a nutritionist. Because the amount of athletes and bodybuilders that come to me and just the basics aren't being covered, and that's why they're not getting the results that they want, is just because their body's just not healthy enough.
It's not prepared enough for the changes in front of it, right? That's exactly it. Yeah,
you put in additional stress on the body when it's not even in a healthy place to begin with. So I say to a lot of guys, you could probably gain more muscle just by eating more protein without even going to the gym and lifting weights. And if you go to the gym and lift weights, you actually might lose weight because your calories aren't high enough as it is.
Oh yeah, you get that a lot. I have a friend, or had a friend, who was like literally that guy. And he trained so hard, but he changed. Problem is, he was never following his nutrition. He was never eating enough. And the other thing that he was always doing wrong is he'd do about 3-4 weeks of a hypertrophy program. Then he'd change up. He's read on the internet that Men's Health say that you should do Olympic lifts. Then he's read on the internet that some other sort of website said, he should do fasted cardio, and that's going to build up his weight. He was so back and forth, and we were all telling him, eat your calories.
Consistency is key, like this. Do you know what? If you go on the internet, you will find probably 100 different website pages saying this is the best nutrition strategy, this is the best training strategy, this is the best supplementation strategy, this is the best pre-workout, this is the best multivitamin, right?
Oh god,
there is so much out there and so much contradicting information. And I came across this to the point where I didn't want to listen to anyone. I wanted to learn myself. And there's tons of people that are still doing that. And I get that. And I get that you want to do it by yourself. But honestly, people will waste so much time doing that, because you've got to trial one strategy for 3 months, see how that goes. Then trial another strategy for 3 months, see how that goes. If you just get someone who's a coach who's got a proven track record of getting people in shape, then you're gonna not make any mistakes. This is I get research, but there's research in terms of researching information, which a lot of the time is just marketing BS. And then there's looking at actual scientific studies that support certain methods, whether it be drugs, whether it be nutrition, whether it be training. But for someone to just say this is the best, it's generally because they're trying to sell you a certain type of method, or certain type of supplement, or even certain type of diet, like whether it's like a fad diet type thing, or it could be a keto, or it could be something like that. Like they're trying to sell you a supplement that falls in line with that kind of nutrition strategy. So yeah, it can be an absolute minefield for people that are entering the realm of trying to get in shape, because there's so many different ways to do it. And don't get me wrong, you could go to 2 awesome trainers and they will get you to the exact same endpoint, but do it in a very different way. This is why you'll get even top level coaches in every sport arguing amongst each other. No, this is the best. No, this is the best. Fact of the matter is, they'll probably get that individual to the same point, just via a different pathway. The basis pathway for me every single time is health. So ensure that they are healthy along that pathway, and because it comes back to the same thing. If the body's healthy, it can adapt.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing as well. I think with nutrition, as you say, it's underutilized across all fields, all sort of like levels of ways. And I think the one thing I certainly notice as well is even the average person, because they're the ones who normally are getting dragged to the keto diets, the slim world diets, and even just I mean, slim world. I mean, I've seen some things. I mean, I've seen people share, like, you know, pictures of what they're eating, and they're eating this. There's one of them I saw. I won't name any names, but they shared oatmeal. So it was like overnight oats, but on top of it, they had like 3 Freddo bars on top. It's only 345 calories. And I was thinking, where are you getting this from?
I think there's an important thing to touch on there is as well, that I just want to add in, that I think nutrient quality is so important. So you've obviously got certain diets, like if it fits your macros. Now, there's a big difference between eating even just like soya protein and egg protein. The amino acids in one protein can be very different to another. So you can have 30 grams of protein from one source and 30 grams of protein from another source, but the amino acid profile of one will be more optimal in favor of recovery, muscle growth, that kind of stuff. Whereas one, for example, soy has been found to, if I remember correctly, have a hormonal negative impact within the body. And then, for example, you've got people that will go, oh, well, a chocolate bar is the same as eating a bowl of oatmeal. Now, you've got to remember that one's processed, one's multiple ingredients and processed massively. And I'm sure you know this, but the difference that will have in terms of the way it will impact the look of the body makes a huge difference. And that's taking a step back from there. As you touched on calories, it's not as simple as just calories, regardless. If you could have someone that's eating 2,000 calories of crap a day, like ice cream, donuts, chocolate bars, muffins, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got someone that's eating 2,000 calories of single ingredient food, like chicken, beef, fish, eggs, greens, rice, oatmeal. Now, if those two people are doing the exact same, let's even say they're the same macronutrients, right? The way that the one person is going to look is completely different to the other, because of the quality of the nutrients, and the delivery of that, the absorption of that in the gut, how that will actually affect gut health itself, and that, like, how it will affect performance, how it will affect muscle growth. There's so many reasons to eat a more optimal diet. Now, don't get me wrong, like, you're going to have bodybuilders that are eating a huge amount of calories, that just to get more food in, they're going to have to eat some processed stuff, right? Maybe even a tub of ice cream. I think, I don't know if you've heard of Rich Piana and the guys like that, but they would eat like a ton of food and then they'd have like a tub of Ben and Jerry's. So, and people do that, but I obviously I would prefer a client to eat purely single ingredient food, whole foods, right? But it might come to a point where, to be honest, I first kind of go to stuff like Cocoa Pops and fruit, stuff like that to get extra calories in, before I really look at kind of like Cocoa Pops aren't the worst thing in the world. I actually use a gluten-free one with my clients. I try and make all plans gluten-free, lactose-free. But I've got a guy who's competing in strongman, actually two guys that compete in strongman at the moment. And they're also coached by, is it Lawrence Schlarley, the strongman guy?
All right, yeah.
Competes in World's Strongest Man, yeah. So he's their like training coach, and I do their nutrition. And like they're getting to a point, they've got like a goal weight that they want to be to compete at, and it comes to a point where you're pushing out much food. You've really got to look after gut health. So you really have to look at foods that they can digest really easily, and then maybe even add products in, like probiotics, prebiotics, fiber, that kind of stuff, just to really optimize the digestive system. So, but yeah, man, it's a minefield with like, that's obviously, I've mentioned various different types of like demographics there with bodybuilders and powerlifters and stuff, but I'm sure we agree there's so much conflicting information on the internet. It can be an absolute minefield, and people perceive information different ways as well, which is what I think. Like, I wish I'd have had a coach from 16 years old. Whether I'd have listened to that person, I'm not quite sure. But I wish I'd have had someone that I would have listened to and respected and followed their advice. And I think I would have been a much better bodybuilder younger in life, and made less mistakes. And obviously there's the other side of things, where in many sports now, particularly bodybuilding, there's a lot of drugs involved, and there's a lot of people screwing themselves up with performance enhancing drugs. And I've seen it time and time again. And so I think, again, people will look on the internet for different drug protocols, and I've seen some ridiculously crazy, dangerous drug protocols for bodybuilding. I would highly recommend, if someone's going to go down that road, to have someone that's been there, done it, competed, because there's a lot of coaches out there that have never competed that are giving drug protocols. And I just think that's so dangerous, because for one, different drugs affect people in different ways, and also if you've not personally used that drug, you've got less experience with it, of course, and you may struggle to advise someone in a safe manner using that drug.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there was a documentary years ago called Bigger, Stronger, Faster that sort of explored sort of steroids and stuff. And I think one thing I've certainly thought of, I think that there should be a little bit more research in sort of dosage of different sort of types and the effects on the actual human body. Whether people would be sort of willing to come forward and be, I don't know, as you say, experimenting on another story. But I feel like if there was more research on it, it would make the world a safer place. I follow a guy called Thomas Moore, I think he's called. He's
I've spoken to him. Nearly competed against him, actually.
He's brilliant.
He backed out though.
Did he?
Wow, he was meant. I think he qualified in his it was in NABRA actually, and it kind of didn't make sense, because he said to me that he was the judges had told him he need to lose more weight, or something like that. And I qualified for the British finals, ended up breaking a rib 2 weeks out on a leg press, and pulled out. And I was looking forward to competing against him at the finals. And it kind of would have stimulated me more to do it if he'd have done it, even with a broken rib. And I broke my rib on the Sunday, and by the Wednesday, I pulled out the show, because I was just like, my body was battered. I actually lost 64 pounds in 21 weeks. So I did NABBA Midlands, won that, and then did the PCA show at the Body Power, and then came like fourth in that, I think. And then and my body, I had a mouth full of ulcers. I broke my rib the Sunday, the day after Body Power, at a gym called Emporium. And I was messaging Tom. I was like, "Oh, Tom, you're going to compete?" And he's like, "Oh, no." He made it some excuse. Oh, bless him, he's all right. Oh. But no, back to carry on. I do have my own opinions on Tom, but carry on with yours, mate.
Yeah, that was pretty much. I mean, obviously, I followed Tom. It was probably the algorithm on YouTube at the time. I was walking to work and I came across his videos and such. When I follow him, I think he's quite a clever bloke. I love his video editing. I mean, it's unbelievable, that sort of stuff. But I won't go too off task for that. But I think it's phenomenal, that one. But I know he does like a business where he talks upon sort of like the sort of ways of using or utilizing sort of steroids. I don't know what your opinion. What's your opinion on that?
Okay, when Tom first came out and I saw a lot of his videos, I didn't agree with everything that Tom was saying, and it was quite frustrating for me because there was a lot of things that I didn't agree with, and it's always that thing of, it's a double-edged sword with talking about anabolic steroids on YouTube videos, because one, you're putting that thought in a lot of people's minds of, oh, anabolic steroids, will that help me? And then there's the other side of it of, well, people are going to do it anyway, so you might as well educate the topic, right? So, but some ways that Tom said things, and some things that Tom said I wasn't completely agreeing with. Yeah, I've not watched Tom's videos enough of recent to know if he's changed his philosophies or anything. So I can't think of specific examples where I can say that was severely wrong, but I just remember watching certain things and thinking, I'm not too keen on what he's put across there or what he said there. Because I personally, I think when Tom started bringing out these videos, he wasn't that educated himself at the time. So it kind of, I've been brought up around steroids my whole life. I've got books dating back over 20 years old from when my dad used to read about anabolic steroids, and there was books out back then, and I've got various books, and I learned about this at university. So again, all I can I mean, I'm happy to talk about that subject, but in a nutshell, you have to just talk to people who've used those things. But the problem is certain side effects won't affect certain people from certain drugs. So, for example, a drug like, say, Trenbolone, some people may not have any side effects from that, whereas some people, it might make them really depressed. It might make them have really bad sweats. It might make them paranoid. It might make them angry. It might increase their anxiety loads. So Tom might come on and say, oh yeah, Trenbolone's great. I'm getting leaner. I'm getting bigger. I'm getting stronger. But then someone else might listen to that and go, oh, Trenbolone sounds great. They'll use it. And one, they'll shut down their HPTA system. So their natural testosterone production will be a mess. Well, it will be non-existent. And then they'll also may have various psychological issues as well. So again, it's kind of like, you've got to show both sides of the spectrum. You've got to show the good stuff. That's fine, cool. But also show the negative sides as well of the drugs. And there's some people that are doing that really well on YouTube. And there's some people that are just talking about it willy-nilly and being a bit irresponsible with the way that they're putting things across. I've not made any YouTube videos on that topic, and I've wanted to. The one particular subject that I think should be touched on more, and I think will be happening more in the UK, is TRT clinics. So as you may know, some people have very low testosterone naturally. And testosterone massively affects someone's mental clarity, their sleep, their anxiety, their confidence, their muscle growth abilities, their fat loss abilities. It affects metabolism. So someone who's very, very low testosterone can really have a poor quality of life. And when a client comes to me, I ask them to get their bloods done. So I want to look at their liver, their kidneys, their cholesterol, their hormones, particularly testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. So I can kind of look where their body is, right? So I've had certain people come to me, and as we know, testosterone is an anabolic steroid. And it's probably the most commonly used anabolic steroid within bodybuilding.
Yeah.
That said, there are people that have used anabolic steroids in their younger life. They come to me at like 30, 40, 50 years old. I get their testosterone checked and it's so low. And their sex drive, all the things that I mentioned, just including sex drive, can be so severely impacted in a negative way from abusing their body when they're younger with anabolic steroids, and they didn't do a post-cycle therapy course, and then their testosterone is just very low. So first of all, I will say, look, this is what I found. I think you should go to your doctor and see what they think about this. And one thing that really frustrated me once with a guy, he was a client of mine, and I was training him in the gym 3 times a week. His nutrition was bang on, his training was bang on, but I could tell there was something not quite right. And I said, right, I want you to go and get your testosterone checked. So he went and got it checked, and it was like 2 nanomoles per liter or something, like very, very low. And I said, so are you having any of these side effects? And he picked up 2: depression, anxiety, tiredness, erectile dysfunction. So I said, right, go to your doctor and explain this to them. So the doctor said, okay, cool. What we're going to do is we're going to give you Viagra and we're going to give you antidepressants. And I was like, and he came back to me and said, right, this is what the doctor said. And I said, right, did you mention about testosterone replacement therapy? Yes. What did they say? They just shrugged the idea off. And I was like, so it didn't make sense, man, because to me, I felt as though if he was to go on testosterone replacement therapy, that would sort all of the issues out that he was having. Anyway, he said, look, I'm going to try and source some testosterone, and I'm going to go from there. He said, I completely agree with you. So basically, the guy sourced some testosterone. Within 4 weeks, he was like a completely different man. Honestly, he walks in the gym, and it was almost like the sun had come out on him or something. It was like, do you know what? And it was so nice to see that his poor quality of life, and it had been like that for around 20 years, was sorted. And that's obviously a massive thing. And all of a sudden, his performance in the gym got better. He got leaner. He got more muscular. His brain clarity, you could tell he was just more switched on in the mind. And this is a guy that runs quite a successful business as well. His work rate got better. Everything just improved. So I'm not really aware of many TRT clinics in the UK, but in the US, that is a massive thing. So linking it back to Tom, obviously Tom looks at things more from a bodybuilding perspective in terms of when he talks about drugs, from my recollection. I'm not sure if he's done a TRT type video, but I think before you start talking about, because what you got to remember, these drugs were developed for medical purposes. So they weren't developed for guys on stage in little tiny pants. so they were developed for medical purposes. So before you look at drugs in bodybuilding from a bodybuilding perspective, look at it for its medical purpose, and look at the kind of dosages that are used just to get someone to a healthier position. So for example, people might be questioning, so how much testosterone would I use to be in that normal range, right? Because when you get your bloods done, your testosterone should be between X and X, right? So between 9 and 29 normally in the UK nanomoles per liter. So for example, between 100 and 150 milligram is the kind of dose per week that I would be with testosterone to mimic that natural level of testosterone, right? So, but the issue is that will shut down your natural production. But if your natural production is already suboptimal, so it's below 9, you're not going to feel great anyway. So just of recent, another guy a couple of weeks ago, his was like 7 nanomoles per liter. And I said, how do you feel? And he said, so he had psychological, he had PTSD, actually. He was in the army as well. So he had certain psychological disorders already. And I said, look, the decision's yours. You know, I'm not going to tell you to do anything because I can't legally really do that. I'm not a doctor. But from understanding the research, I can kind of give a certain level of advice. And within 3 weeks, he was like, my anxiety is gone. My sex drive is there. My wife says that she's kind of got the real me back, the happy me, the energetic me. And it was all based on, because his training, he was a client as it is. So, right. So his training, his cardio, his food was already perfect. And I just felt again as though there was something that was holding him back. And yet again, it was his testosterone level. And I'm not sure whether Tom's put this out there. He should have if he hasn't. But when you use steroids, it can completely mess and shut down your HPTA for life. So one cycle of steroids can cause havoc with your natural testosterone production for the rest of your life. So again, that should be said, in my opinion, at the start of every single video, or within a video where you're talking about anabolic steroids, is you should make sure that people know, yes, these steroids can help you gain muscle, but they could mess with your body for the rest of your life. And that's something that I really feel needs to be put out there. Don't get me wrong, there's other things that can affect your hormone levels, even drinking alcohol, lack of sleep, stress, poor nutritional habits. They can all affect your testosterone. But steroids 100% will cause a certain level of damage. So that needs to be said. But I never wanted to do YouTube to just be famous or to build a following. Like I've put a few videos out here and there, and I'm not really pushing it to be famous or anything like that. I make quite a good living for online coaching and PTing as it is. I don't really, but at the same time, the reasons that I'd be doing it for, and obviously the reason why I was happy to do this with you today, is because there's a lot of bad things that are going on at the moment, and I just want to kind of help people make more educated choices, I suppose.
100%, yeah, definitely. The next question, what I'd lead on to from that, would be how do you sort of how do you find online coaching as in general? When did you start, and how did you cope through lockdown? I can imagine you've probably got quite a good influx of people coming in and seeing you more often, I guess.
It lockdown helped me in terms of online coaching. Lockdown definitely helped me with online coaching, and obviously that's a good thing. So yeah, I suppose like online coaching really I've been doing on and off for years, but it's grown more the last 2 years, and then grown more when we went into the first lockdown. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of clients that are probably still being coached by me, and their exercise form probably isn't optimal. But if there's someone in another country or far away from me that can't be PT'd by me, then it's obviously I can't do one-on-one. So what I get a lot of clients doing is just sending me kind of videos of their form. And I've had some horrendous people, not horrendous people, horrendous exercise form. And then you just correct them, you just talk them through it, and you just explain, exactly what to do. But online coaching obviously is a cheaper thing than doing being personal training by me. It probably works out like half the price or something per month. So but I think online coaching works very, very well. if a person can just be given a plan and they can just crack on with it. But no, I've had some awesome results with online coaching. Yeah, I think a lot of people are skeptical. They're almost like, wait a minute, I'm paying like this amount of money and I'm not even going to see you. But the guidance that you can give them can be fantastic in terms of the results that they can actually get. I don't believe that you need to have a personal trainer, to be honest with you. I think that an online coach in many cases will suffice. Don't get me wrong, some people, they will just not go to the gym if they don't have an appointment with a trainer. But I found that if you've got someone who's dedicated and they can read properly and understand things, then online coaching can very much work for them.
It's like personal training as well in some respects. It's like therapy, isn't it? You're sort of checking in, you're sort of devoting your time and wealth towards your health. And I think a lot of people, that wins people around, doesn't it? When they realise that, yes, they may be putting X amount of money aside each month for
it's investment. It's absolute investment. Like health is the most important thing, and having someone guide you on your health. And like, there's probably trainers out there and online coaches that don't really care about people's health, but for me, health is paramount with the person that I'm coaching. So people might come to me to just look amazing at their wedding or amazing at their holiday. But first things first, I'm like, right, let's get you healthy. And sometimes that obviously will mean more cardio, or you don't need to weight train to be healthy, really. Although that said, I find a lot of people have spinal issues because their spinal erectors are weak or something like that, you know. So in some way, weight training, I believe everyone should do to an extent. But obviously, if you've got someone who's running marathons all the time, the amount of weight training that they would do compared to someone who wants to gain a huge amount of muscle is obviously very, very different.
Oh, definitely. What do you reckon on these weight belts? A lot of people use them quite regularly. Yeah, like, you know, like you got the belts that sort of, they're almost like a alternative to sort of like the TA bands, the transverse abdominis, you know, when you're doing your deadlifts and stuff. And I've had friends who wear them so like frequently through their training, and they end up just developing back problems because they're just doing it every single time, and it's crazy.
That's exactly kind of what my thoughts as well. There's a friend of mine, and he's not that bright, but he said to me once, he said, everything that is support creates a weakness. And it's one of the smartest things he ever said. But yeah, so, and he wasn't just talking in terms of, I'm just using that phrase. That was the phrase that he said was actually nothing to do with weight belts, but it's true. Everything that creates a support creates a weakness. So everything that is a support creates a weakness. So even people with the wrist straps and stuff like that, and they're doing bench press or whatnot. Now, in some things, I do like wraps when you're doing like a deadlift or something like that. So, or a pulling movement. So if your forearm muscles would generally give out before your back muscles. So that kind of stuff I agree with. Me personally, I don't use a weight belt or knee sleeves or knee wraps because it just feels uncomfortable. I don't feel as though I can perform in the normal plane of movement for my body if I wear a weight belt or if I wear wraps or knee sleeves or something like that. That said, I've got some mates that use belts, that use elbow sleeves, knee sleeves, and they're in incredible shape, and they've got fantastic physique. So I think, to be honest, it's down to personal preference, but don't feel as though I want to say to people, don't use it just because other people do. Use it because you feel as though it's a benefit to you personally. But I've tried all the kind of accessory stuff that you can use within weightlifting, and I use nothing apart from the straps that wrap around the bar for like deadlifts, rack pulls, that kind of stuff. Because your grip just can't withstand a little like tip on the side. Like some people, they do deadlift or rack pull, and they'll do like a switch grip. So I'll be like this.
Oh yeah, yeah, what you mean.
Yeah. So you will be able to lift more than holding it like this, right? So if you're lifting like this, you'll be able to lift more like that. Now the problem is then people can pick up bicep tears on the arm that they've got open like this, and they can develop issues with their lats. So one lat will be developed differently to the other because the way they're pulling the bar. So for people that are doing it for bodybuilding purposes, I definitely do double overhand with straps, 100%. I actually developed an imbalance myself in my back muscles from doing one hand under, one hand over for years. I think I've kind of got it back now because for the last couple of years I've been doing double overhand. Accessories, use them if you need them, to be honest. But don't use them just because your mate's using them.
Me and my mates, when I first started out, we were doing deadlifts, and we noticed our grip would go every time.
Chalk's good too.
We used to wear gardening gloves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you know what? I've seen more of that happening nowadays. Yeah, people wearing like they're really sticky, aren't they?
Yeah, they're brilliant.
And they're durable as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was probably my sort of like peak time of sort of deadlifting that, and I noticed good sort of 10 kilo sort of difference. Like, I've never lifted amazingly heavy weight, but for myself at that time, I was like, oh, bloody hell, that's pretty good. I was about to sort of like promote them and everything. Maybe I'll go back to that one day. But again, speaking about the sort of alternate grip. Oh man, I remember changing the grip back to that again, just without straps and stuff, and I noticed a huge difference. Like, it was horrible. Like my left arm was so much weaker than my right.
That's why just use straps. If you're not competing, I think within powerlifting you're not allowed to use straps, right? So if you're not competing in powerlifting, I really don't see a problem with training with double overhand and just using straps. And you're going to develop a nicer physique. I also feel it could probably have a negative impact on the spine if you're doing a flip grip as well. I call it a flip grip. If you're doing because you're almost twisting the spine differently, right? And I just feel as though if you lift double overhand, it's safer on the spine.
Oh, definitely. That's god. Yeah. I mean, obviously I've only ever done sort of like, that sort of standard deadlift, but yeah, the wrist straps were the best thing ever. And I noticed as well, because that was when I sort of like transitioned from sort of using gardening gloves, and I used straps for a couple sessions, and it was brilliant. Like, and it was that sort of that grip there, your wrist was getting stronger, and it was making no sort of like negative impacts on my sort of, my form as well. It was fantastic. And my weight was going up as well, which was awesome. It was really good. So what would you say, like leading on to like training side of things, is there any exercises as a bodybuilder that you choose to avoid doing in general because it doesn't help or it has like an impingement on things?
Do you know what? I love a wide array of exercises. There's a lot of bodybuilders that don't squat or don't flat bench. I personally think they do have a place, and I like to do them. There's nothing really that I can think of. I think there's more optimal exercises to do things. Like, personally for me, for say arm training, I have 3 bicep movements and 3 tricep movements in terms of isolation movements, and I personally think those are the best for me. And I've trained those are the ones that I give to clients as well, and they generally agree. If the form is done correctly with those movements, I think they're the best movements there is. But no, I like such a wide array of exercises. I feel as though it's optimal to hit the body from tons of different angles, and I don't do a hell of a lot of sets per each exercise. So say for example, I'll have 8 exercises in a workout. I may only do 1 or 2 of each of them. So I may warm up. My first exercise may be like say 3, 4, 5 sets, but when the body is warm and when the joints are warm, I then may only do like 1 or 2 sets to failure per each exercise, but hit it from a variety of different angles. Training is, I mean, my most popular video actually on YouTube is it's titled Why I Believe Upper Lower Training is the Best for Most. So when people start out weight training, I feel as though they do kind of a bro split. So they'll do like legs on one day, back on one day, chest on one day, shoulders on one day, arms on one day. So they'll have like 5 different days, and they'll go to the gym 5 days a week. Now the problem with that is 4 of those workouts are going to be upper body, right? So back is upper, arms is upper, chest is upper, shoulders is upper. Only one of those is lower body for legs, right? So they'll be training over the course of 4 weeks, like 4, 8, 16 times on upper body, but only 4 times on lower body. So what does that normally equate to? It equates to someone with poor legs, but a better upper body, right? So then I scaled back and I did that for years. And then when I was 16 till I was like 23, and then when I hit 23, I started doing push-pull legs. So Monday would be like lower leg day. Wednesday would be push day. So it'd be anything that was a push movement. So bench press, military press, dips, dumbbell presses, that kind of stuff. And then, so you'd hit shoulders and chest within that workout. And then Friday would be like a pull workout. So it'd be like rows, pull downs, all that kind of stuff. And that helped me get to a certain level. And I even won a show, placed quite well in shows doing that type of workout. And then January 2020, I thought, right, my legs still aren't where I want them to be. I want to push them for more muscle growth. So I don't really want to train legs twice a week, every single week. Is there a way around it so I can train legs more? So what I did is I developed an upper lower plan, which I'd seen other people were doing, but I didn't like the idea of it, to be honest. And I thought, right, let's try and work a plan out that fits what I want to achieve. So now what I do is, like, week 1 will be like lower, so legs on a Monday, an upper body workout on a Wednesday, which will be compromised push and pull movements. And then Friday will be lower again. But the next week, it'll be upper on the Monday, lower on the Wednesday, and upper again on the Friday. Then next week, it'll be lower, upper, lower. And then next week, it'll be upper, lower, upper. So over the course of 4 weeks, you'll hit lower body 6 times and upper body 6 times. So in terms of top to bottom, the whole body is getting worked evenly. So, and honestly, within the first 2 months, my physique noticeably changed. My legs looked more balanced with my upper body. I did also do an arm workout on a Saturday. And I would add some calves in then too. And I do like abs and calves Wednesday and Saturday, regardless of whatever day it was on a Wednesday, whether it was upper or lower. So this way, and I actually feel as though this is the best way to train for most people, because if they miss a workout, then it doesn't screw up their whole kind of training regime. If they miss an upper workout, just the next workout, hit an upper workout. And then that'll push the lower workout back, but that's fine because the upper workout is pushed back also. So you're still doing everything in like an even ratio. And I personally think, like, the problem is, right, there's a lot of genetic freaks out there in the top level bodybuilding that their legs are huge anyway. I know top level bodybuilders that lead up to a show, they will actually abstain from training legs because they're far too big for the upper body, right? So, so they might go, yeah, no, bro split's fine, or push-pull legs is fine, train legs once a week is fine, but they're genetically elite. So it doesn't really matter what they do because they'll look phenomenal anyway. And they're as I said, particularly with people with huge legs naturally, which I am not one of those people. And I also didn't really train legs to their full extent from up until I was like 26. I used to like doing strength movements on legs. So I used to like squats. I used to like deadlifts, which hit legs. And I used to like calves, but I didn't do leg extensions. I didn't do leg curl. Didn't really like leg press. I just wanted a big squat so I could go, I've got a big squat, right? I didn't really give a shit about my lower leg development. And then obviously when I got into bodybuilding, I was like, okay, I need to bring up my legs now. So yeah. So then I started to do all of the what I would call secondary movements, like the leg curls, the leg extensions, the adductors, all that kind of stuff. But to begin with, I was just doing, and honestly, my legs massively jumped in size when I started to do a proper leg workout, not just squat. And people will say to you, oh, you can get huge legs from squatting. Some people might be able to do that. But for me, I needed the leg curls, the leg extensions to really accentuate my legs to the best, really.
And like linking in with that, obviously with lockdown and such like that, and for majority of people, obviously it's been so hard to sort of get into the gym for restrictive reasons and such.
Yeah.
Like, how's that affected your online coaching with regards to, like, have you had to change your exercises around for each individual?
Yeah.
How have you adjusted to that, to linking with their goals?
So obviously the people that haven't got a hell of a lot of weight at home now, the goal is kind of just shifted to bringing body fat down, maintaining muscle mass. So calories have dropped generally. Some people are still working, so they can have their calories a bit higher, but some people are literally doing nothing at home. So the calories have got to be lower if they want to get leaner. It's as simple as that. So some people have got home gyms and have got the ability to train. Some people have owned gyms. Some people have got friends who own gyms and they're still able to use a gym. So to be honest, like, there's a lot more cardio happening. I have wrote a few workouts for people to do at home. So yeah, like, the fact of the matter is, if you've not got enough weight to stimulate new muscle tissue or to stimulate growth with muscle tissue, you're not going to be able to stimulate muscle growth. It's that simple. So but that doesn't mean that you can't still look good, right? You don't need tons of muscle to look good. You can just get lean. But I personally believe weight training is fantastic for males and females that just want to look good. So a lot of girls will come to me and they've done their like crazy diets before and like fucking 500 calories a day or something. And I'm like, right. But they're like, I always lose loads of weight. I always lose my bum. Okay, so let's break this down. What is your bum muscle? What will keep it shape? Weight training. And then you need a certain nutrition regime to stimulate that muscle growth, retain that muscle. So back to what we were saying earlier, it's nutrient quality and having the right nutrients for the right goal, which can be different to anyone. So I mean, that's the whole thing in itself. And but yeah, so some girls are just doing like lunges and stuff, like in squats and that kind of stuff, and they've got some dumbbells, so they're doing workouts for the full body. But as I said, still online coaching has increased with lockdown, because people have got more time on their hands. People are at home, and they're not going out drinking, they're not spending money on alcohol and all that kind of stuff. And I feel as though people have kind of took two paths. They've took the path of let's not give a crap and just get fat, it's lockdown. And then the other people are like, right, let's get in shape. I've got time on my hands, I've got no excuses. Let's learn about nutrition. Let's get in shape. Let's follow that path. So it's clear to me which path is the best, because to be honest with you, I hear people like, oh, I'm enjoying myself, I'm eating what I want. Yeah, but every time you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see.
Exactly.
And you're subconsciously aware of what you look like and what you're doing to your body. So you might be happy for those couple of minutes you're eating whatever you're eating that's junk food, but mentally, that's not good for you. And physically, it's not good for you. And so are you really enjoying yourself when, before you go to bed at night, are you thinking, I'm so happy with my body right now? And when you're waking up, when you look in the mirror, are you thinking, I'm so happy with what I see in the mirror? So are you really enjoying yourself? If you're, back to the saying of, I'm enjoying myself. When they're getting drunk all the time, drinking alcohol, eating junk food, are you really enjoying what you're doing?
It's such a grey area with that, isn't there? Especially at the moment. I don't suppose you saw on this morning, it was a lady called the Fat Doctor who came on.
I've heard about this.
Oh my golly gosh. Oh, it gave me a migraine watching it. But she was basically saying and there's a lot of this at the moment, this sort of sugarcoating bad behaviour and sort of like unhealthy sort of factors and stuff. And she was going, it's perfectly acceptable to be obese. You know, kids should have more role models that are obese. And the reason being is because, and she was just being generic what she was saying. She was talking about BMI. As we know, BMI is a load of bollocks. And then she was going,
to an extent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she was going, you know, because obviously if you're obese on BMI sort of thing, doesn't mean you're unhealthy. It was like, yeah, we know that. And then she was going, and also she was talking about like how we should sort of, you know, a lot of people go on these diets and then they suddenly, you know, they'll go on a crash diet essentially, and then they'll put the weight back on anyway. So she was saying, well, you know, people go on diets and restrictive eating, but they only put the weight back on anyway. So there's no point going on diets.
Yeah, but some don't. That's the thing. If you get someone into those positive habits and get someone in those positive habits for long enough, they won't go back, because I've witnessed it many, many times. Right. Fact of the matter is, obesity is a killer. Bottom line, obesity is a killer. Why should we have more obese role models? First of all, somebody should be a role model because they're a role model, not just because they're an obese role model, right? Like you've got obese good people, obese bad people. So saying there should be more obese role models, that's quite, I don't feel as though that's a very nice thing to say, because like I'm not saying that an obese person is a bad person. What I'm saying is that it will have a negative impact on their health. Like, for example, at the moment with COVID, like the chances of dying from COVID if you're obese is a lot higher from the statistics. I don't like to get too much involved in COVID, to be honest, but from the statistics that I've looked at, if you're obese, you are more likely to die from COVID. Fact of the matter is, bottom line, if you have cancer and you are obese, you are more likely to die. It's that simple. Obesity is linked to heart disease. Obesity is linked to so many illnesses, and the chance of having these illnesses is a lot greater if you are obese. It's that simple. I'm not saying obese people are horrible people by any means. What I'm saying is it's cool to live a healthy lifestyle, in my opinion. Bottom line, right? I love it. When I eat better, I feel better mentally. I look better. I'm happier. What you've got to remember is a lot of people are obese because they've got psychological problems. They've got depression, right? And food is their vice. That makes them happy. That releases serotonin, and that's why they eat lots of junk food. But it's a negative cycle. So it's not a good thing to do, in my opinion, to be obese. We've got a huge excess of fat isn't a positive thing.
No,
it's that simple.
It's actually the thing, isn't it?
Unless you right. So unless you're a woman who gets paid for being fat because you've got your own website and you know it's called fatsexygirl.com or something like that, and guys pay you, and that's your. But even then, you got to understand it's negative on your health.
100%.
That simple.
Yeah. Moving like just in relation to that, obviously a lot of people have gone through tough times during COVID, pre-COVID and whatnot, but what's like the biggest challenge you've faced so far, and how have you dealt with that sort of form of adversity?
I lived in Ibiza for 4 months back when I was 22. At the beginning, that was tough, like finding a job, sorting the right apartment. That was a life-changing thing. Like I'd say to anyone, like if you get the chance to work abroad, especially somewhere like Ibiza, like I was doing like I was a bodyguard and I was doing door work. It was phenomenal. Like I used to work at a place called Cafe Mambo, and oh my god, like I used to get paid to watch the sunset go down every night with like
Amazing.
top celebrities, top DJs, and I used to just basically just look after them and look after the public and make sure everyone was behaving. And it was me and a few other guys doing it, and that was a phenomenal experience, living a beat of performance. So that's like that was a challenge, because I was going away, no family, no friends, had no job to go to. Well, in actual fact, I was promised like ticket selling when I got there, and I did some ticket selling with a girl that I met for a company, and sometimes we'd walk around for like 12 hours a day and make like 20 euros.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And it was just like, and you were like burnt, your whole body was burnt from walking around like with your top off all day, going from hotel to hotel, which was illegal. You're not allowed to go into a hotel ticket selling in Ibiza. And luckily the girl I was with was quite an attractive girl, and she just talked her way into like everywhere. But that was a challenging experience. But once I found my feet, found a job, I actually just literally walked to Cafe Mambo one day, which a guy that I worked with back then, he's actually now the manager of Cafe Mambo. And he was he was actually the bin guy. So in 2012, he was the bin guy. He used to collect all the rubbish, and now he's the manager at Cafe Mambo.
That's mad.
A guy called Rob. Real nice lad. I think he was in the Marines, and he came out in the Marines, and he just was like, right, I'm gonna go and party. Yeah, Rob's a good guy. But yeah, once I found my feet, so I literally just walked to Cafe Mambo, found the manager, and I said, look, I've just landed. Like, have you got any jobs available? She sat me down right there and then. She said, what are you good at? Do you want bar work? Do you want to do door work? What do you want to do? And I said, what's the most money? She said, door work and bodyguarding. I said, right, I'll do that. And she was like, come in tomorrow and start. So that was a pretty awesome experience.
I mean, I'm 25 now. I mean, I know the biggest thing that I sort of had to deal with when I was working my last job was the idea that time is forever sort of like running quite thin.
Oh, mate, and I love my life. Like I've accomplished so much, and there's so much more that I want to do. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, at times I thought I was about to make a few big investments last year. I'm not going to say exactly what, but I was about to put a lot of money into a lot of investments, and I'm like, do I do this now? Because I was making those investments for my future, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind touching on it. That it was within property, so I was looking at buying a few houses, and I didn't know whether, I thought, should I just go and buy a Porsche? Should I just like go and buy a Porsche? And I thought, and I thought, no, right, let's think positive. Let's think that, but you honestly, you do not know when your time is up. My dad was so fit, so healthy. He died about a week before his 75th birthday, and he was one of the most fit. Well, he was the most fittest and most mentally, mentally clear people. Like such a positive, positive guy, and so switched on. And I was like, this guy's gonna live forever. And then he rang me and he said, I've got something to tell you. I've got pancreatic cancer. And I was like, oh, you'll just get surgery, right? Everything will be fine. He was like, it's too late, I think. The doctors have pretty much said it's too late. So I did some Google research. I was actually at a restaurant at the time. It was in the summer, and I did some research on pancreatic cancer, and I was at this restaurant, and I burst out crying because I just thought, this is gonna, it's like a 91% likeliness that you're gonna die with pancreatic cancer. So and as I said, man, back to what you were saying, like, you just don't know when your time is up. So you've got to enjoy what you're doing. Anything that you dislike, I think you've got to work on and or get out your life, pretty much. Life is for being happy. Like, it is so much about being happy, and in doing what you enjoy,
So that was essentially my last question as well. Like, your advice to sort of like, I mean, this is people more specifically in your field, but like, just across the board, really, what would your like be your sort of main sort of philosophy behind what you do, and what would you sort of like to pass on to younger generations, older generations, or anyone in your field? Sorry, that was a really long-winded way of putting it. Sorry.
Man, like along the lines of what so advice that I'd give to people that want to be a coach or a trainer, or advice that I'd give to anyone in general?
Yeah, I'd say let's do both. Let's coach and trainer first.
Okay. As a coach and trainer, do it as long as you enjoy it. Don't do it because you think it's cool. Because you won't enjoy it just because you think it's cool. You have to do it because you want to help people. That's the bottom line. If your stimulus is not to help people, don't do it, because you will chase money, but clients will pick up on the fact that you're not interested in helping them and that you're just interested in the money, and that reputation will get around. I'd like to think that my clients feel as though I'd like to think they feel as though that I give a shit. And I started helping people for free to begin with, like just coaching people for free. Just, do you know what? It was more so to test myself, more so to see have I actually got the knowledge it takes to get someone in shape. Because do you know what? The people that believe in themselves a little bit too much are probably the ones that you should be a bit wary of, I think, because I doubt myself a lot, because I want to be awesome at what I do. And I always think, let's say I'm thinking about a certain topic, I think, do I know enough about that? No, you should probably learn more about that. The people that think, do I know enough about that? Yeah, I know what I need to know about that.
Worst kind of people.
Those are the people who kind of like, they're not, if you want someone who's trying to constantly learn, like me as a trainer, I'm constantly trying to learn more. I want to be on top of my game. So another piece of advice really is, if you don't enjoy health and fitness, don't get involved in health and fitness. Yeah. If you want to be healthy and fit, cool. One thing I see quite a lot is people that have been in really bad shape, and then they get in really good shape, and they think, oh, I can be a trainer now. Being in good shape yourself and having the one to help people are two different things. There are some people that are top level bodybuilders, right? But they don't give a shit about helping other people. And they might have the knowledge to do it. The bottom line is, if you want to be a good trainer and nutritionist and coach and whatnot, you've got to want to help people. You've got to care about their results to a certain extent, because otherwise you're going to hate it. Because trust me, I get messages of clients all day long, and I enjoy it. I like, great. Like they want to know this. And do you know what? The ones that ask the most questions are generally the ones that get in the best shape, because they're interested in the process. But don't get me wrong, I don't need a client to be interested, and I don't want someone to listen to this and think, oh, Jeff wants me to ask some questions all the time. No. You can get questions. You can get in amazing shape without asking any questions. Ask questions as and when you need to, right? But the people that like to be clear on exactly what they're doing, so you give them a plan, and I try and make it as clear and as concise as possible. So literally, they don't need to ask any questions, because it saves them time. It saves me time, so that they completely understand what's expected of them and what they're supposed to be following. But the ones that do, they want to be super, super clear. They do really well, because they've got a keen interest to get in better shape. In terms of like general life advice, literally simple, like enjoy it. But do you know what? Sometimes I have known people who they want to enjoy every single minute of every single day, right? Now, I'll tell you, leading up to a bodybuilding show, some days when I feel like really weak and like really tired, and like I'm like, I don't enjoy every single minute of every single day. But when you step on stage and you see the results of what you've accomplished, that's phenomenal, and that's a feeling that is awesome. So that's the kind of person I am. Like, I don't mind sacrificing a little bit to have that long-term accomplishment. So there's a saying, isn't a short-term sacrifice for long-term goal, for long-term gain or goal, right? And that's something that I enjoy. But as I said, bottom line is enjoy what you're doing. But I like to succeed in things. Like when I went to university, I didn't enjoy every day of university, but I wanted at the end of that process to say, I've got a degree in sport and exercise science. I've learned about this. I've accomplished this. And that's why I did it, because I wanted to succeed in something. Because like a lot of people, like they might leave school and work not a very good job, but they want to get a car straight away and they want to be able to afford this straight away. And with me, I was like, I don't care if I'm poor for the next 5 years. I want to go and learn and be more than that, right? Like I didn't even buy my first car till I was like 30 years old. I bought my first car. I drove cars before, but I just because I wanted to invest my money in the right places before I went and bought a car. Yeah, man, that's like just like live your life on your own terms and enjoy it. And do you know what? Don't be scared to make mistakes as well. Like 100%. I think so many people like are scared to almost make mistakes. They don't do anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're so scared to do a bodybuilding show because they're scared to get laughed at. Okay, go on stage, get laughed at, learn from that experience, learn that you need to be better, and then be better. Or coach someone, don't do a very good job, and learn from that experience that you did wrong. Obviously, there's always that risk of getting a bad reputation or blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, it's what you do most of the time that counts, in my opinion. So if you've done some bad stuff, okay, go and do loads of good stuff. Whether you've been a bad person or whether you've been a bad trainer or whether you've been a bad competitor, go and prove everyone wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just change, like learn from your mistakes. And I'm a kind of person where in my younger days particularly, I didn't listen to anyone. As I've got older, I've learned to listen to people, but listen to certain types of people. So if someone's been successful in a certain type of area, listen to that person to learn from their mistakes. And this is why I think coaching is massively important, not just in getting in shape, business coaching, lifestyle coaching, training coaching. If you want to learn something, what do? You go and do a course, or you go and do an apprenticeship or something, right? So listen to the people that have got your best interests at heart. And sometimes it's quite hard to work that out. I think some people get some bad advice from people that they think they can trust and they can't. And this happens in business, in what really annoys me is I hear people and see people advising other people, say on drugs, as we said before, or nutrition or training, and I just think, oh man, that's so wrong. And I don't like to poke my nose in. I try and put myself in a position where I'm not hated for saying what I'm saying. This is why, like, I feel as though I used to write a lot of Facebook statuses about certain things, training, nutrition, whatnot. And I think people thought that I was being really shitty with the way I was putting things across on Facebook. So then I started doing YouTube videos. And then people are like, oh, actually, okay, he's not actually being a dick. He's just trying to educate people. Or he's just trying to put his personal opinion across. So I personally think YouTube videos are awesome because people can see you, hear your tone of voice. They can look at your face expression, right? Whereas if you're just writing something on Facebook, people can misinterpret that and think that you're being an asshole. So like, this is why now whenever it comes to my kind of ideology of a certain topic, I would rather do a video on that because I'm less likely to come off as an asshole.
Yeah. I think it's good as well because it translates like, so for myself as well, I started YouTube, one for comfort zone reasons, two because I just love dicking about on cameras. If you ever seen any of my videos, you'll notice I love dicking around. But obviously, three is that it's sort of like sometimes I'll see something like yourself and I'll think, well, that's not quite right, and I get quite pissed off with it and quite negative about it. But then what I'll do is I'll translate that and convert that energy into sort of a video itself, of which then
absolutely, that's a way better way to do it than just writing a Facebook status. People can get. I've got into so many arguments with people on Facebook before, and I really try and steer away from that now, because like people will write stuff on Facebook that they wouldn't say to your face. They will come across really shitty with you on Facebook, but if you were speaking to them in the street or at the gym, they'd be like, "No, Jeff, I'm not sure actually. I think it's best this way." But on Facebook, like, "Nah, you're a dick. What the fuck are you talking about?" So,
100%.
So like, I just feel as though like I don't want to get into arguments with people. I don't want to fall out with people over a Facebook status or over a conflicting opinion. So if I do a YouTube video and people disagree with me, they can see that I'm coming across with a really sincere approach to what I'm saying, and I'm saying it because I believe that's the best. I'm not going to tell people something that I don't believe to be an optimal method, because I want people to do well for a start, and I want people to try it and go, actually, that's really good and that really works. But if you put something on Facebook and then they might go, "Oh yeah, well, my dad, who's been training for 30 years, said that that's complete bullshit and this is the best way to do it." Okay, it's up to you who you want to believe, right? But like, what it opens up a whole new dimension of things, right? But I just think with YouTube, you can really put yourself across in as I said, like a sincere manner. And I mean, one video that I did, like, I'm not in any way like big on YouTube in my opinion right now, and I got like 30 comments, and people are like, "Oh, that sounds like a really cool idea. I'm going to try that." People are like, "Oh, I've been doing this for years. That's really good. I support this video." And I felt as though that was really nice. And I don't mind to go against the grain and disagree with people, but there's no need for like big arguments. And that's what kind of YouTube steps away from. Like, anyone can be like, how many people have got a Facebook account, right? And how many like friends have you got on there and stuff? I know I've got like 5,000 friends on Facebook, and they might completely disagree with you. And as I said, like, they might if they're having a bad day, and you know what people scroll Facebook, right? So if they're having a bad day and they see something they don't agree with, they're going to kick off with you. Not necessarily because you've done something wrong. They're going to kick off with you because you just said something they don't agree with. If someone's on YouTube, they're generally watching it with a different attitude. They're watching it because they want to learn something, or they're interested about a topic. So you don't get people, I don't think, just scrolling YouTube, right? Like, people scroll Facebook. It's a completely different platform. So you get a different kind of person that will look at your YouTube videos as opposed to will be on your Facebook, unless you go through and like really delete people that you think are going to argue with you. But in all honesty, sometimes someone who disagrees with you sometimes can be a good thing, and it can also make you learn more about your topic that you're putting across, because they might say, "Yeah, but what about this?" And then you go, "Ah, that's the point actually." And then you might go back to your research and go, "Yeah, you're right," or no, this is why this is right because this. So yeah, man, I just think, but at the same time, if you're going to put YouTube videos out, I think there has to be a certain level of education. As I said, don't be scared to do stuff and get stuff wrong. And I can tell you now, there's a lot of YouTube channels that have started where they've been really poor quality, poor information at the start. People have commented and actually educated them, the person putting out the YouTube video, educated them, and then they've learned. So to be honest, putting your opinion out there on YouTube sometimes can teach you stuff about what you want to learn about, because people disagree with you, and then you go back to your research. The key thing is not to be arrogant. Be open-minded, right? Because if you're not open-minded and you're closed-minded, you're going to think very tunnel vision and not really learn anything more about the subject. I've changed my philosophies over the years that I've been training people, and I'm that's a great thing, because it shows progression within my own knowledge.
Definitely. I'm going to close it there for that one. Thank you so much for your time, mate. I really do appreciate it. Thank everybody who's viewed in and is still here with us. This has been Ace's Peach. Bloody hell, I'm going all over the gaff. This has been Peachy Podcast, episode 4. Comment below who you want to see next. And thank you very much. Jeff's details will be in the description of this video and in the comment section as well. Do feel free to follow him as well. He's been absolutely fantastic guest today. Any closing words, Jeff?
Not at all. Thank you also for having me on.
I appreciate that, buddy.